And a very happy new year. Alan Biggs welcoming you to the very first Ref Show of 2015, and let's hope it's a far better year for referees and for refereeing in general. Keith Hackett and Mark Halsey join me. Happy New Year to both of you, gents, and welcome. Let's indeed hope it's better. So let's look. We have an opportunity. It's been a few days since the last set of Premier League fixtures, and they threw up a litany of mistakes. So let's break it down today and look at English refereeing as a football club, which is not really too far removed from the truth. Referee FC, if you like, because team referee at the moment, I think it's fair to say, isn't performing.
Yeah, I mean, when Keith was in charge, he always referred to us as the 21st team, and I mean, at present, I mean, the performances of our referees, not entirely their fault. I think you'd put us at the bottom of the Premier League.
Oh, without question. I mean, if we are a football club, I think the chairman of the football club would be asking the manager and some of his cohorts to be on their way, and I think that's what needs to be done. I'm that convinced that these errors are down to a lack of leadership, whereby the referees themselves appear to be confused. They are not bad people. No. These guys can referee. They refereed under my era. They perform well, and I'm seeing some of them actually officiating like bumbling idiots. I mean, if you look at the consequence of the referee making a decision to send off Wayne Routledge, the Swansea player, I couldn't see how a referee operating at PGMOL level could make that level of error.
The thing is with that, Keith, Keith's exactly right, and it's their recognition of offence as well. Now, Anthony Taylor, who's a good referee, he's got to recognise that challenge as an excessive fourth challenge, endangering the player's safety. So if he does recognise it in the proper manner and gives a red card, then we don't have the Routledge incident. But you can't blame Anthony because the assistant's come in. I don't know what the assistant's seen. I mean, you know, has he gone looking for trouble? He's found trouble. Stay out of it because he's too far away for me to get involved. And you know, as I say, if Anthony Taylor recognises that challenge as a red card like we all did, and then we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't be talking about Routledge.
Well, that's one example among many, and we could go on for minutes on end about other mistakes that were made over the festive period. I counted in 3 rounds of Premier League fixtures a good 20. Major errors there, which is quite an astonishing number, Keith. Really.
I mean, look, in my era, we probably had 1 in 10 games an error that we used to.
So in each round of fixtures,
the aim was to get rid of the 1 error. That was the aim, and some weeks we did that. But we would then take those level of errors, and we would group them together. The referees would discuss them. We'd look at better ways in terms of avoiding those types of errors. We'd get the referee, you know, not on a public execution, but he would admit why. He'd openly say, look, I've got it wrong because of. And this debate, you know, sometimes in Mark will tell you, Mark and Graham Poll at the other end of the room would have a fierce debate in terms of a different view on how to deal with things. And then you get a guy like Rob Stiles coming in and offering a piece of advice applicable to law. He would settle.
So is this not happening now? Are they not meeting to thrash out these inconsistencies?
But what Keith's saying, I mean, it's not, you know, difficult errors. They're just basic errors that we're making, and they do meet. And I understand they're meeting this week as well, so it'd be interesting to see what they talk about. But I've been in those meetings, and when you do have an indifferent performance, and you on a Saturday or Sunday, then you go to Burton on a Monday or Tuesday, no one talks to you. No one talks to you, even though you've made a big error. You arrive and no one talks to you, no one puts your arm around you, no one discusses it with you. You just left to your own devices.
We'll talk about the system by which referees are invigilated, I think is the word these days, several days later in a moment. But let's look at the overall banner of Professional Game Match Officials Limited. It's a mouthful, it's an awful title. I don't know whoever dreamt that one up.
I certainly didn't.
You didn't, right.
No.
We're looking at this as Referee FC, and Mark made the point, if it was a league table, he'd place it bottom. Where would you place
absolutely at the bottom. But remember that within the context of that, the strapline is delivering excellence. So this is what professional refereeing was about. When the PGMOL was formed, it was to actually recognise that referees needed to train more frequently, that standards needed to improve, that investment needed to go in. All those things have been done. And in fact, as I've mentioned previously, increased. But what we're seeing is, we've actually seen a lack of succession planning. A manager of a football club, Alan, can go out and buy a player in, right? And I suggested a few weeks ago, I think that's what the general manager should do.
Should go
overseas, bring somebody in.
Right.
And there might be some arguments against that. But in reality, there are a number of referees, and I think we've come to the time of year when we're saying, right, okay, we're coming up to the business end of the season, but we're also having to think ahead about next season. And the likes of Foy, Jones, Mason, Mariner, and maybe some others, and that's a big number. In change management, you don't want to do that. But in reality, like the manager of a football club, he reviews the players he's got under his control, and they're put on the market. In refereeing terms, I'm suggesting the same. Well, these guys have had their time. They are not improving. They're regressing in terms of their performance. They're standing still. People like Mike Jones has a catalogue of errors this season. Lee Mason, okay, I'm not putting everything down to the general manager, but the lack of leadership appears to be influencing how they perform, because there doesn't appear to be any level of accountability.
Well, so with that in mind, the accountability issue, let's look at it as a round. Referee FC, PGMOL, and look at it. The media will look at it from top to bottom when there is a crisis within a football club. So let's look at the board first of all.
Well, when the PGMOL was formed, remember that the FA, the Football League and the Premier League are the funders. They provide the funds to the PGMOL. And their CEOs were on the original board, along with an independent chairman, Peter Hurd. I can tell you, in my period of office, if things weren't going swimmingly, right, I would have Peter Hurd either visiting my office or on the phone. He would be pretty active. Sometimes it would be words of encouragement. It might well be, look, I think you might want to try a couple of referees out. New, fresh faces. All done under the umbrella of the PGMOL. Now, over the period of time, the CEOs of that organisation have gone. The chairman has changed. So I think, where is John Williams?
This is the chairman. This is the chairman of PGMOL, John Williams. Has he taken his eye off the ball?
Well, I don't think he's had it on it. Well, I mean, look, he was a successful guy at Blackburn Rovers. Then he went to Manchester United. He's a capable fellow. He communicates well. I'm not so sure that he's got involved enough from where I'm sitting, because, I, at his request, visited when Mark Hughes was the manager at Blackburn. I visited with Dave Allison. We had good debate, good discussion. He knows what refereeing's about. He knows what football's about. He's a football man. And you say to himself, I would say to him, John, you need to get more involved than you currently are.
I mean, I echo what Keith said. I mean, when I was coming to retire, I spoke to John Williams. I phoned him up and told him what I felt and the failings of the PGR management is at the present time. And we had a long discussion, and he said to me, I promise I will get back to you about what we've discussed. Still waiting for that phone call.
All right, well, let's move from the chairman to the manager, who doesn't appear to be being troubled by the chairman at this stage. This is Mike Riley. How do you rate his performance currently? I mean, you've had fairly strong comments about his management.
I mean, he's managing the team that's at the bottom of the league. And it's my belief that he has changed the structure, the systems, which he has a right to do, but what he's replaced it with is something that is less good and is not working. And any manager of any business must sit back, review and say what is working, what is not. And if he sits in a dark room with, if you like, not listening to what is going off or not involving himself sufficiently because he's delegated lots of the roles, the appointment system to Karen Barrett. Well, hold on. The first level is appoint the referee to the game.
Yeah, he looks after his mates.
Have a level of accountability that says quite clearly, look, if you're not performing, I've got to do something about it for the good of that referee. But what we're seeing a player have a bad game, then have another bad game, and like any player in any sport, confidence is a major aspect. Here we're talking about consistency, we're talking about controlling games, applying the laws of the game correctly, and it's not happening.
I'm seeing comments around that Mike Riley's lost the dressing room, to use a managerial player parlance. Is that fair comment?
I think that's absolutely spot on. I think you can tell by the referees' performances. I think they've lost confidence in general manager. They've lost confidence in the evaluation system, and I can echo about Mike Riley. I mean, I worked under him, for 3 seasons. It's just he hasn't got no man management techniques. He doesn't know how to deal with men. He doesn't know how to speak to men. And I've been in the situation where we've had our meetings at Burton. We're sitting in the room. We see challenges, and 2 people will say it's a red card. Another referee will say no, it's not a red card. Another referee will say it's a yellow card. And guess what? It just stops at that. Oh well, you see it as you see it, and you deal with it as you see it. Instead of the general manager getting up and saying, right, this is a red card challenge. This is an excessive force challenge. You will red card. And we're seeing at the moment, we're seeing denial of goal scoring opportunities. We're just seeing, like Fabianski. We go back to Fabianski. He was sent off for a denial. Now, we all agree at URF that wasn't a denial. Now, we see one on Saturday, Craig Pawson. We see Lee Mason at Goodison with Walters on Baines. We see Lee Mason again at Arsenal Newcastle with Drummett on Welbeck. Now they should be sitting there, they should be watching those and saying, right, this, that is a denial, that is a red card, this isn't a red card, that is not denial. It's exactly the same with handball. We look at Michael Odom, who's a very good referee at Stoke Man United. Now he's 5 yards from it. It's clearly deliberate handball. He's not going to get there. He makes himself bigger. He puts his arm up, and he doesn't give anything. Now they should be showing these. They should be saying, right, this is deliberate handball. This is a penalty. This it's not a penalty. And we're just seeing so many inconsistencies, and referees just don't know what it is anymore.
I'm amazed because ultimately, at the end of the day, within that organisation, you've got someone like Howard Webb, and who was a very competent referee. I don't know how good or how involved he is in this process, because he's a guy who should stand up and say, this is this decision. But I think it looks to me as though his influence, his powers, his authority are, if you like, suppressed. He's not doing the job.
I can hear people saying this is all destructive comment, but in fact, your next blog, which will appear on yourotherf.com around the time that this goes out, is trying to be constructive about measures that need to be taken.
Well, I think that first of all, the board should consider that Riley is gone and should go. I'm as black and white as that in terms of the action. They should appoint outside people to examine who might become the new general manager. Howard Webb, Pete Walton, there are others, Hugh Dallas. There are plenty of people around who are capable of doing that role.
Right, we have to bring it to a close, I'm afraid. But I do know that there are people who think that you take some kind of perverse pleasure in this. But,
no, we don't.
I know from the private moments with you, you're actually annoyed.
We are.
But enjoying it.
Let's get it right. We've got some excellent referees out there, and it's just the way, the leadership and direction and the confidence. In any sport you're in, whether you're being refereeing, you're a golfer, you're a cricketer, you're a football player, it's all about confidence, and that comes from the top. That comes from your management. Confidence, and I think they've just lost total respect for this evaluation system, and it is not helping refereeing at this present time.
But you've got
Keith
got some referees, Alan, that have got 15 games, and you've got Clattenburg, the number 1 guy, with 11.
Yeah, let's hope he's out on the fixture list today, Keith. They've not used him over the Christmas period.
In fact, there's a card table that's appearing on yourotherref.com at the moment from Keith Hackett. He must have been out. I don't think he had any Christmas. He was just burning the midnight oil. He's going to have to get himself a life. Keith, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Mark, thank you to you, and to you for watching. We'll be back with another Ref Show, looking in detail at the next round of Premier League fixtures. That'll be next week. Bye-bye.